Hello, my name is Mike Flavin. I work for State Street Pictures in Los Angeles, California. State Street in the past has put out such movies as Notorious, the Barbershop movies, Soul Food, and they hired the whitest guy they could find from Minnesota. Instances where I've noticed that people will skew more commercial than actually making a good product is abundantly everywhere. The classic example is this past weekend. I went and saw a movie called Win-Win by Tom McCarthy, which was screened at Sundance, bought by Fox Searchlight a couple months ago. It's a really heartwarming, touching story about a suburban family that takes in a 16-year-old adolescent who's, basically on a very rough road, whose mom has abandoned him, and, it's a very touching, heartwarming story. The week before that, a movie came out called Battle Los Angeles, which is essentially a 2.5-hour video game starring Two-Face, Aaron Eckhart, and they go around and blow stuff up for 2.5 hours. Now, as a studio executive, what your job to do is you have to think to yourself, who is going to see movies? Are people who love to go see touching, heartwarming stories, are they consistently on a week-to-week basis going to the theaters? They're not, because those are 45 to 50-year-old men and women who have kids, jobs, responsibilities. Or with Battle Los Angeles, you're going after a key demographic of 13 to 16-year-old, males who have nothing better to do than blow their allowance money to watch this blow-up fest. Is it Shakespeare? It's not, but it's smart business because they know that people will come to the theater to see that. Other smart business would be a movie like Valentine's Day, which Gary Marshall actually directed. Adeline Bush McKenna actually wrote, or she wrote a draft of it. It came out last Valentine's Day on February 13th, and what they knew was going to happen then was, or February 12th, and what they knew was going to happen was that we have a whole weekend where guys basically have to take girls to the movies because it's got to be a date. We know that they're going to see a romantic comedy, and what better way to have a romantic comedy called Valentine's Day over the Valentine's Day weekend? It was smart. They made like $80 million, and the movie was just terrible. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it was god awful. But they weren't worried about that. New Line wasn't worried about that. They were worried about the bottom line. They cast whatever star they could find. They didn't worry about touching character arcs. They didn't worry about making sure that the orchestra swelled at the right moment and everyone was emotionally impacted. They were trying to make statements about the war or anything like that. No, they made a light, fluffy piece that they knew that they could sell and cram down America's throat, because that was a safer decision. A lot of times you'll get a script and it could be the greatest thing you'll ever read, but if it's not commercial and you're not going to have an audience for it, it won't see the light of day. And that's just the way it is. Like I said, there's 2-3 times a week where I'll read a great script where I just be like, gosh, that's such a touching story, but this is set in 1930s South Alabama. No one will go see this movie. And that's why the touching movies that do get through, like Juno, or to a lesser extent 500 Days of Summer, and movies like that, that's why people gravitate towards them so much when they actually do have success, because they're a dime a dozen. They're very rare. Whereas Battle Los Angeles and these other blow-up-a-thons happen once a weekend.